أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين وعلى أصحابه وعلى جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. On this auspicious night, one of the nights of the last 10 nights, the odd nights of Ramadan, and perhaps one of the nights of Qadr, may Allah accept from us all our deeds and forgive us all our shortcomings. As we journey through the Quran, we had the recitation tonight of the completion of Surah Al-Dhariyat, the entirety of Surah Al-Tur, Surah Al-Najm, Surah Al-Qamar, Surah Al-Rahman, Surah Al-Waqi'ah, and Surah Al-Hadid. In the concluding part of Surah Al-Dhariyat, with which we began the recitation this evening, glad tidings to Ibrahim alayhi salam and the lessons in the stories of Fir'aun and the stories of Ad and Thamud, the people to whom Musa, Hud and Salih were sent, and also about Nuh alayhi salam and his people. We are reminded that human beings have been created for the express purpose of ibadah. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. And though the term ibadah is usually translated as worship, which in turn is assumed to be ritual acts, in reality, ibadah transcends mere ritualism and refers to the expression of the will of a person to obey the Creator and encompasses far more than ritual acts of worship. Ibadah, therefore, refers to all actions done in obedience to Allah fi ta'atillah, encompassing all good and beneficial deeds, a'malu salihat, those deeds done sincerely with ikhlas and niyyah, and those deeds done with propriety. In other words, anything done within the parameters of what Allah has prescribed or ordained, or doesn't transgress what Allah has asked, it's a good deed, beneficial, done sincerely and with propriety. Any such deed is considered an ibadah. It can be ritual, like a prayer, which always must have a spiritual dimension, of course, and it can be social. For example, Maulana Altaf Hussain Hali writes, Yahi hai ibadat, yahi deen o iman ke dunya mein kaam aaye, insan ke insan. Yahi hai ibadat, this is ibadah, this is deen and this is iman, that human beings be of mutual benefit to one another. So you can see ibadah being used by the Shaykh there in a sense of mutual social responsibility and social relations. Surah Al-Tur, the mount, perchance referring to Mount Sinai, and of course we know much of it under occupation. Allah swears an oath by the mount and makes reference to the undeniable realities and the signs which testify to the hereafter. It has been stated most emphatically that the hereafter and Qiyamah, it's a reality, and the day of judgment must come to pass, and none has the power to prevent that. Those who oppose the divine and the reality of accountability are using the same kind of logic that they use to justify the worshipping of idols. Those who have justification for worshipping of idols, how sound can their analysis and judgment be? There is a logical response to some of the objections and criticisms of some of their errors, of the errors of those who are idol worshippers. And of course, reference to the fact that life continuously unfolds and people believe and do as they deem fit, but be aware of the eventual accountability to Allah. In Surah Al-Najm, there are 4 primary discourses. First part, what the Prophet conveys is not mere woman fancy, it's a revelation from Allah. 2, Allah is the sovereign of the entire universe, and the final judgment will not depend on what you consider yourself to be, or on all your tall claims of faith, or claims of your purity, or of your chastity, but rather on the righteousness that you do and the evil that you avoid. The third discourse deals with the basic principles of religion, which has been presented throughout history. And the revelation of the Quran is a culmination of a series of guidance coming from the time of Adam, culminating in the mission of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the final discourse, do not claim piety for yourself, only Allah knows those who are pious. And be aware that no person shall bear the burden of another, and no one shall have except what he or she strives for. Surah Al-Qamar, the moon, The day of judgment is drawing near, yet the unbelievers are heedless of that reality and of the signs of Allah. The Quran has been made easy to understand. Is there any amongst you who care? وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. Allah repeats this about 4 times. And then the story of Thamud and Lut, or the people of Lut, who call their prophets liars, and to show how terrible was Allah's scourge against these people who betrayed the prophets. People of Fir'aun were seized for disbelieving and for their corruption. The same warning comes to you. Take heed. Surah Ar-Rahman, perhaps one of the most popular and famous surahs of the Quran, a rhythmic, melodic chapter, titled after the most pervasive attribute of the divine, Ar-Rahman, the merciful. And in this chapter, Allah refers to the majesty of His creation and highlights many of His blessings to the world. He describes the end of the world and paints a magnificent picture of paradise. This chapter is characterized by the refrain, فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. Which then of your Lord's blessings can you or will you deny? Which is repeated 31 times in the surah. Surah Al-Waqi'ah, which means the inevitable event, the event that must take place. The scene of Qiyamah, when humankind will be divided into 3 major groups. The reward for the foremost group, the most righteous. Then those who are on the right hand, meaning those people who are the doers of good deeds. And the consequence for those who are of the left hand, meaning those who do wrong. And also testimony of Allah about the Quran and about the mission of the prophets. And Allah makes a reference to the ending of the above 3 groups. Surah Hadid, the iron, is a Madani surah, revealed sometime between the Battle of Badr and the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. This was a time when the tiny Islamic state of Medina had been hemmed in by the believers, and the handful of ill-equipped Muslims were entrenched against the combined forces of the entire Arabia. Allah makes reference in this surah to the fact that the heavens and the earth glorifies Allah. The generosity of the generous will witness the bounty of the divine. The generosity of the generous will witness the bounty of the divine. Treat the gains and losses of this world in proper perspective. Do not overgrieve for your losses, nor overjoy at the things that you have gained. All of these are temporary. Then Allah makes reference to Prophet Nuh, Ibrahim, and Isa, alayhim salam. They were sent as guides, as were all prophets, guidance to the right way. And among the primary objectives of all of these prophets, وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلُنَا بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ وَأَنزَلْنَا مَعَهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْمِيزَانَ لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ بِالْقِسْطِ. For justice to become manifest among human beings, therefore follow the way of the prophets. The verse I want to briefly reflect upon is from Surah Ar-Rahman, where Allah says, هَلْ جَزَاءُ الْإِحْسَانِ إِلَّا الْإِحْسَانِ. Can the consequence of good or of ihsan be anything but good or ihsan? Ihsan is a key concept in Islamic terminology, in hadith as well, and more particularly even in the Quran. Ihsan is a dimension of our deen that entails the confluence of good deeds emanating from a sound mind and a pure heart. And it is linked in the Quran all the time to primary objectives of the deen. For example, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُ بِالْعَدْلِ وَالْإِحْسَانِ وَإِيتَاءِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى. Allah commands justice and goodness and the doing of good to your near and dear ones, or liberality towards your near ones and dear ones. And you find that benevolence or ihsan has an independent significance, but also always complementary to rahmah or compassion, always. Since Allah is the benevolent, His servants must also be benevolent. And they reflect that Islam and that iman of them by being of the muhsineen, of those who do good in their attitude, in their behavior, in their relationship with the Creator, and in their social relations with the world around them. Ihsan implies a sense of social responsibility which is born from religious conviction. You can't be a muhsin purely by prayer. You can't be a muhsin purely by worship. It must become manifest outwardly in your social dealings as well. That's why the Rasul said in the hadith, خَالِقُ النَّاسِ بِخُلُقٍ حَسَنٍ. He used the word hasan here, implying deal with people with the best of etiquette, the best of characteristics, the best of character. And even in the Quran, when Allah gives an injunction about our relationship, One of the most comprehensive verses. وَاعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا وَبِذِي الْقُرْبَى. The ihsan for your parents, وَبِذِي الْقُرْبَى وَالْيَتَامَى وَالْمَسَاكِينِ وَالْجَارِ الْقُرْبَى وَالْجَارِ الْجُنُبِ وَالصَّاحِبِ بِالْجَنْبِ وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ. Allah gives all the categories of people. Worship none but Allah. It's a verse earlier on in the first juz, Surah An-Nisa. Worship Allah and none but Him, and don't associate partners with Him. And then manifest ihsan with your parents, with your near and dear ones, with your neighbors. It's a detailed verse, of course, indicating how this notion of ihsan is intertwined with every dimension of our relationship. And that's why one person came to Rasulullah, said, Ya Rasulullah, dallani bi'amalin idha amaltu bihi dakhaltu bihi al-jannah. Ya Rasulullah, show me something, tell me something, that if I do it, I'll definitely enter paradise. The Rasul said to him, Kun muhsina, be a muhsin, the one who does ihsan. Kun muhsina. So he said, Ya Rasulullah, فَكَيْفَ أَعْلَمْ أَنِّي muhsin? How will I know I'm muhsin? How will I know? He said, Sal jiranak, فَإِنْ قَالُوا إِنَّكَ muhsin, فَأَنْتَ muhsin. Ask those around you, ask your neighbor. If your neighbor considers you good, Allah will consider you good. So we see the very presence of a believer in any situation should be a source of benefit, a resource for goodness, whose every action reflects goodness and beneficence. And Allah says to us, وَأَحْسِنُوا, always be good. Be consistently of those who do ihsan. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Allah loves those who are of the muhsineen, doing good. And that's why in everything, وَأَحْسِنْ كَمَا أَحْسَنَ اللَّهُ إِلَيْكَ وَلَا تَبْغِ الْفَسَادَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. Everywhere in the Quran, it has this higher notion, a higher sense of commitment and dedication, a higher element of ourselves, how we deal with the world, how we imbibe the value of goodness within ourselves, that even in dealing with others, it's always manifest. Baiz al-Bustami one day had a student who was, a student who was giving class, and one of the people in the class was very rude to him. So he spoke to the person very, very nicely, and the person was very abusive. Sometimes there are people who know one hadith or one ayah, and they want to challenge the Maulana or the Shaykh or whatever it may be. And the person was abusive to him, and he was very kind to him. So after that, one of his students said to him, Shaykh, that man was so rude, and you treat him like a gentleman? He said, yes, I treat him like a gentleman, not because he is one, because I'm one. Now this sometimes you lose that, even in religious arguments and debates. If I become rude like you, there are two rude people. Doesn't matter who started first, still two rude people at the end of it. So here, Sayyidina Ali karramallahu wajhah said something very beautiful. He said, اجعل نفسك ميزانا فيما بينك وبين غيرك فأحبب لغيرك ما تحب لنفسك وأكره لو ما تكره لنفسك ولا تظلم كما تحب أن تظلم وأحسن كما تحب أن يحسن إليك. Very beautiful, he says. Sayyidina Ali says, make yourself the standard between yourself and other people. Don't say he was rude, so I am rude. Make yourself the standard. Somebody came to Rasulullah, a lady whose whole family was not Muslim. She became Muslim and they ostracized her. So when she went to visit them, they used to always pick on her. Oh, you became Muslim, you follow this Muhammad, a God which you can't see, and you're denouncing our idols and our forefathers. They gave her a hard time. So she said, Ya Rasulullah, when I go to them, they do this to me. Now they're coming to visit me. Shall I do to them what they do to me? They come into my home. Shall I now insult them and belittle them? The Rasulullah takunu imma'atun taquluna in ahsanun nas ahsanna wa in zalamu zalamna. Don't be silly. Don't say, if people do good to me, I'll do good to them. And if they harm me, I will harm them. وَطِّنُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ إِنْ أَحْسَنُوا النَّاسِ أَن تُحْسِنُوا وَإِنْ أَسَاءُوا فَلَا تَظْلِمُوا. Condition yourself. If people are good to me, I'll be good to them. And if they're not good to me, I'll still be good to them. Because it's not who they are, it's who you are. So, Sayyidina Ali says, make yourself the standard in social relations between yourself and others. Love for others what you love for yourself, and dislike for them what you dislike for yourself. Do not wrong others just as you do not like wrong to be done to you. Rather do good as you wish good to be done to yourself. So among the objectives of the muhsin is to manifest the golden rule, which is loving for others what you love for yourself. أفضل الإيمان أن تحب للناس ما تحب لنفسك. Love for humanity what you love for yourself. One of the well-known Jewish scholars, his name was Hillel. He's also studied under some of the great Islamic scholars. Hillel was like Ghazali is to the Muslim community, Hillel is to the Jewish community. And they also have this notion of loving for others what you love for yourself. So somebody came to him and said to him, Rabbi, you teach me the whole of the law. And I'm not leaving here until you teach me the whole of the law. He turned to him and he said, what you don't wish for yourself, don't wish for others. That is the whole of the law. The rest is only commentary. That philosophy, that wisdom, is wisdom that we can take. So among the objectives of the muhsin is to manifest this loving for others what you love for yourself, to pursue the best expression of our humanness. And we only manifest truly the golden rule is when we do all the good we can, by all the means we can, in all the ways we can, wherever we can, whenever we can, as best we can, to whomsoever we can. And that's why the Rasul said, Al-khalqu kulluhum ayalullah, fahabul khalqa ilayhi man ahsana ila ayali. Hadith Rasul in Bayhaqi, Rasul said, all creation are dependents of Allah. And of all the creation, the best of you are those who are most ahsan, who are best to His universal creation. So ihsan is the matter of taking one's inner faith, the best of one's inner self, and manifesting it in both our deeds and action, in our prayer, in our ritual, and in our social dimensions. Ihsan is that you reach such a degree of devotion, such a degree of sincerity, of godliness, for want of a better word, that you obey Allah in such a state that you believe, that your belief emanates from an inner self extending through your body and your mind. And that level of awareness permeates every aspect of your being, so much so that you worship Allah with a heightened level of consciousness, such a level of consciousness that you worship Him as if you are seeing Him. Al-ihsan an ta'bud Allah ka'annaka tara. Hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, reported by Imam al-Muslim. You worship Allah as if you are physically seeing Him. فَإِن لَمْ تَكُنْ تَرَاهُ فَإِنَّهُ يَرَاكَ. For though you do not see Him, He is forever observing you. So ihsan is divine consciousness coupled with a sense of righteousness manifests in goodness that we do. Ihsan is inextricably linked with being a Muslim, with being a muhsin, and ought to be infused with every spirit of our action. That is why Allah has prescribed ihsan, not in some things, not in salah. Inna Allah kataba al-ihsana ala kulli shay. Hadith in Sahih Bukhari. Allah has made obligatory upon the believer ihsan in everything you do. You can't just do ihsan in something, like maybe my salah or my Quran, but Inna Allah kataba al-ihsana. Kutiba alaykum al-siyam. The same kutiba of the siyam, kataba al-ihsan. I prescribe excellence in everything you do. And that's why we go back to the Quranic verse. If this is the ihsan that Allah asks us, Surah Ar-Rahman, Hal jaza'ul ihsani illa al-ihsan. Can the consequence of ihsan be anything but ihsan? Can the reward of goodness be other than goodness? فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. Which of the favors of your Lord can you deny? أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.